If the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour.
We stand for Queen,
Country, and Video Games. BRB UK.
Worse teeth,
Better accents.
Hello, and indeed, ahoy, hoy, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. For those of you who are at EGX, I wasn't. I was chilling out in Slough. I had no fun.
Boo.
Yeah, I know. I'm Dan. I'm one of your hosts. This is episode 311, believe it or not, of BRB UK, and it's an episode of a podcast, I guess. So I'm joined as usual by Tim. Say hello, Tim.
Hello, Tim.
And a man who's not Coleman, but is an Irish man. It's Diarmuid Man.
Not Coleman.
Not Coleman. No, Diarmuid, I'm not Coleman. Scannell. That is his.
That's the name.
It's his official middle name. It's amazing how we found someone. I mean, the peer pressure actually we gave you to change your name by default just for that really pithy joke.
Had to go to the post office to send off the thing. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, can you do it via the post office now?
Yeah.
Can you? You don't even have to go and appear in front of a judge.
Well, I'm Irish, so we do everything via the post office.
Well, that's why you never get anything done.
Exactly. We voted for Irish exit like about 10 years ago. It still hasn't gone through.
I know. Amazing.
Well, because it's going through the post office.
Yes, indeed. What was it called though? You can't really have. Is it IRExit?
That sounds wrong.
Yeah.
That sounds like a digital erection.
What?
Digital erection.
Do you mean like a digitised one of those, or the erection you might get if someone shoved a finger up your bum?
Whoa! You literally went there. All the way there.
Well, you just have to go in and then up a bit.
Yeah, and then you turn left and you're at the post office, right?
Yeah. Ooh, no, office to post.
No, that's not how it works. So we're down to Coleman, which means we've basically hurriedly thrown together the agenda.
A car crash.
So if this show is terrible, it's all Coleman's fault for having a week off.
We can't survive without you, Coleman. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, well...
That is true.
Yeah.
We literally can't. Like, if he wasn't at least editing this week, no one would hear us scream.
Well, we almost didn't because you actually went, oh yeah, I have to record, don't I, before the show?
If a podcaster falls in the forest and no one's around to hear him podcasts.
Depends if it's you, because the general silence that would envelop the world when you finally stop talking would be a thing to behold. But anyway, something called Fortnite's been in the news quite a bit for several reasons. Yes, season 6 of Fortnite's apparently happening.
I love talking to me about some Fortnite.
Who's got two thumbs and doesn't give a rat's ass? This guy.
But this is at least good news, I guess.
Because wrapped up in this was a beta for Fortnite on the PS4. I'm going, whoa, Dan. It's been released on the PS4 for a while now. It's something that can cause you to get angry with Sony. Why on earth are they releasing another beta? Well, this beta has crossplay enabled. And not PS4 Vita, I mean PS4 Xbox One crossplay. So this is officially a big chuffing deal.
Yarp. This is like the first step.
So Sony has given in. Now, I don't know whether or not this is just the undeniable pull of microtransactions associated with Fortnite that chose to do it, or whether or not actually everything is just caving in front of the monolith that is Fortnite. But Sony have given in after really digging their heels in. Turns out they didn't have their heels dug in that much. You can now play it on Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PC, iOS devices, and you can play just about on anything against anything as far as I can work out. So I played Fortnite very briefly for a bit. I was like, oh, that's good. And I was like, oh, I've got the reflexes of a 37-year-old and couldn't quite deal with it. And the bit that always interested me was the kind of the more co-op horde modey side, but again, it seems like there's layers of complexity to that, which my poor shriveled age brain can't even get its head around, so to speak. So yeah, but I think, hopefully it's not just going to be Fortnite that this is a thing for. Already the Destiny community, surprise, are getting all excited about the idea of Xbox, PC, PS4 crossplay shenanigans.
Yeah, another game that's been mentioned quite recently as well is Rocket League, because they already have kind of crossplay set up between all of the other platforms except PlayStation 4, so it makes sense for them to enable it. And they've already spoken about it, the developers in the past, saying it is just a case of checking a box and then people will be playing together and it'll all be great. So that's all good. And yeah, the news that when this broke was really exciting as well, because obviously we've had games like Minecraft, which have been out for ages, that have had crossplay between all of the other platforms. And the update, Creating Together, I think it was called, or I don't know what it was called, that came out on all of the other platforms, didn't come out on PlayStation 4 for this very reason. They didn't support it originally. So the fact that that's now out, it's a good first step. I hope it is exactly that, a first step. I hope there's a second step and a third step, and I hope this does eventually become
the norm. Even
if it's not a norm, certainly far easier for companies like you say, Bungie. If they come out and they say, okay, the PC version, the PlayStation version, the Xbox version can all play in the same kind of domain, can all co-op together. I don't know what that's going to do with competitive modes with mouse and keyboards versus. But
although mouse and keyboard support is coming to the Xbox One, apparently, Phil Spencer dropped that particular bomb over the past week, I think. So
that's going to be huge. I really do hope this is a first step, because it could be quite big. I mean, like, I have nieces and nephews back home that have like Xboxes and Switches, and I'd love to be able to play with them. I have other friends at work, for instance, and other places that have different consoles, and I'd love to be able to play with them as well. This is just good news, I think, for gamers.
One thing I'm not sure about is whether this will be something like, I don't see how they can turn around to people in the future and say that they can't do it. I'm just not so sure it'll be supported by...
Well, to do that, Tim, they'd have to invent time travel if they want to tell people who are in the future.
Well, no, as in, when future cases come up, if someone says we want to be cross-platform as well, I can't see how they can turn around and say, well, you can't do it when they've already done it for Fortnite, is what I'm saying. But I also think the other sort of tricky side of it is basically, I don't think that all games in the past will necessarily support this unless they can afford to do an update to their game, which may cost them a significant amount of money and not get a return on that investment.
Oh, yeah, well, of course. And, there's, although kind of, the development process has been described as tick a box and magic happens, I'd imagine it's a damn sight more complicated than that. I mean, I think the problem is, like, any PC platforms, like Battle.net, I don't know how well that would talk to, say, Xbox Live or PS4. And I don't know what happens if you get two people with the same either game tag PSN ID or Battle.net ID. Yeah,
presumably it could just do a little prefix to let you know what system it's on and to differentiate between similar names on different systems.
Yeah, Team Green, Team Blue, Team Master Race.
Yeah. but yeah, as I said, I think it might create the expectation that this will happen for every game that's been cross-platform previously, and I don't think that's necessarily a fair expectation to make, especially of smaller developers.
Yeah, but it's also happening with big developers right now. So, like, already people are giving out to Bethesda because they've come out recently and said that Fallout 76 isn't going to support crossplay, despite this kind of thing being an option now.
But unless there's a technical reason for what they've already built so far for that to remain the case, I don't expect that to remain the case, because they can make the argument, well, you did it for Fortnite, you can do it for us.
But exactly.
But hang on, weren't Bethesda one of the big kind of proponents of pushing this forward?
Yes, exactly.
That's what they're kind of fighting now in terms of a PR battle, because Todd Howard came out a few months back basically saying that Fallout 76 wouldn't have crossplay because some partners, and he actually name-checked Sony, weren't very easy to work with. So everyone just assumed, okay, so we're not getting crossplay because of Sony's position. Now that Sony have changed position, they obviously went back to... Exactly, they went back to Todd Howard and Bethesda, and they asked, okay, now they've changed the position, do you think you could have this? And they've basically come out and said, no, the game is... I think
it's too far down the road of development.
Exactly. But they seem to have shut the door on it completely, which is a bit odd in their statement, at least the one I read. it sounded like they were kind of shutting the door completely when they could have just said, we'll look into it post-launch.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think the quote and where you're coming from with that expectation, and that expectation that I'm trying to jump in and circumnavigate before it becomes too much of a problem. Don't know how much success I have at doing so, but just making the point that it may be as easy as ticking a box if you have already built your game in a certain way and taken that into account and had that in mind. If that was not the case when you were developing, it could be a significantly harder challenge that requires much more. Also, just adding another update to your game. I'm not sure if it has to be an update in the same year or an update within a year, but something along those lines. The rules of Sony states basically, if you do one of those updates, the second time you do that update, that's going to cost you £25,000.
Yowza. Well, I mean, I think I'm just more glad than anything that Sony's hubris has shown signs of cracking and not existing anymore, because I was a bit worried that actually, I mean, I can understand why, when you're kind of the dominant player in the market, why you would feel like you can get away, or can indeed dig your heels and go, no, if you want to play with us, you've got to come over to our side. But I'm really glad that they've massively softened their approach on this, because it's exactly that kind of hubris, that kind of attitude that got them into such murky waters with the PS3.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think it's good news as well. Not only, I mentioned it's good news for consumers and players because we get to play with our friends who might be on different platforms. That's great. It's also really good news for developers, I think, because, I mean, me and Tim, big VR proponents, we know the cost of playing multiplayer games on a platform that doesn't have as many units there.
Yeah.
And if you abolish that, in terms of, in this case, obviously not with VR, but with just general consoles, you could come out and you could release a AA game that's multiplayer focused, but release it on multiple platforms, support crossplay, and suddenly your audience on all of those platforms is one audience rather than segmented ones. And that just helps. So I think that this is really good for developers as well.
Do you know what would be even better news if it means an end to stupid platform exclusive things for online games?
Oh, yes.
That would be nice.
That'd be amazing. But anyway, it's not just that that's happened this week. So we should probably talk about some other things. Discord, the chat service that I love to love and Tim loves to not install.
I'll get to it one day.
Yeah, it's not that bloody hard. Their kind of game library service is now going live. The first 7 titles for it have been announced. That includes Last Year the Nightmare, Sinner, Sacrifice or Redemption, Minion Masters, Bad North, At Sundown, Mad Machines, which looks a bit like Rocket League in many ways, and also King of the Hat.
Now, I don't know about you guys. I've heard of a few of these developers.
Yes.
I haven't heard of those games. I guess that's part of the idea of this, is to, put them out there and get a bit more...
Put them out, almost like their
awareness.
Even like their first... On Discord. Maybe.
I mean, look,
that's why
Oh my God, it lives up to the name.
Yeah. I don't know about you. This doesn't seem to be a massive thing in terms of me going, well, I'm definitely going to sign up to Discord now that it's got these 7 games I've never heard of.
Hey, Discord chuffing rocks.
But I do think it's a good thing in the name of discoverability for these games, basically. Makes a few people at least pay attention to them, even if you just end up looking up what they are to see if it's worth it, sort of thing, For that purpose alone, that sounds interesting, basically.
Yes, indeed it does. Talking of things that also sound interesting, but also bandwagons.
Wagons with bands on them.
I love a mini thing. Apart from fun-sized things, they're not actually fun. They're just small and crap.
Yeah.
Everyone loves a mini console that they can't get a hold of because no one makes enough of them. So Sony thought, well, we've given in on crossplay. Do you know what you can't crossplay with? Something without a network connection. So they are releasing the PlayStation Classic, which is £100 worth of mini retro PS1 goodness.
I actually think it's £90.
Is it £90 or is it £90
and
$100? Oh, well, there we go. So, wowza, that is a bandwagon. And Sony have gone, stop that mofo. we're getting on that bandwagon.
It kind of looks cool, I have to say, and I don't know, I have an affinity for that console, so this one appeals to me a bit more than, say, the NES one did. Maybe about as much as the SNES one did. But at the same time, a lot of people were pointing out on Twitter that for the same price, or for less money than that, you can buy an original PlayStation and a load of these games off eBay.
Or you could get the PlayStation TV, the Vita thing, download all of the games that you have on there onto a little memory card, plus more games for less. It's like...
Yeah, I mean, it's... Yeah. Just, yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised, but... You know, it comes with, and in true Me Too style, Sony are taking a bit of a nod from Nintendo here. So, surprise, it's got HDMI out and is powered by a USB cable. Want an adapter for that USB to plug it into the mains? Well, that'll be some more money you'll need to pay us, please. Because why would we want to include the ability to actually use the gadget in the box with said gadget?
It's one of those things that I see the appeal of these things, and I guess they're good presents, and they're possibly good for slightly more, not necessarily casual gamers, but people that may have fallen off the gaming bandwagon and want a little excuse to have a fiddle around with some old games and don't have access to a modern console. I can see that. But I think for most of us, like, we'd probably prefer to buy these games on the PS4 and not have to plug another console into our TV and have wired controllers again and all that type of stuff. But also for me, all of these mini consoles seem less valuable and to have a less valuable case usage because of the existence of the Switch. Like, in the days before I had literally had a portable console that I could very easily take the dock with me somewhere, or, you know, at least the leads, even if not the docks, to then hook up to a TV at the other end. I suddenly have a modern day console that I can do this with rather than having to take a separate console, and I can play that console on the move. So it seems to have one over and above these things. If you own like a SNES and a PlayStation Mini, my question to be you should have just put that money towards a Switch.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I think again, it's people who were kids when the PS1 was the thing, and now they've got a bit of disposable income. It's a way to relive the glory days and contemplate the futileness of middle-aged existence.
It's also for people like my brother who collects random pieces of crap like this.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it comes with two original spec PlayStation controllers, so no analog sticks for you suckers. But they are both USB based controllers, which it means you can plug them into other things, which is probably quite a nice little bonus. So 90 quid looks like a little PlayStation to me. They haven't announced all of the games just yet. There's going to be 20 games in total, but it's Final Fantasy VII, Jumping Flash, R4 Ridge Racer Type 4, that's all one game apparently, Tekken 3, and Wild Arms.
Is there anything that you guys would particularly like to see on the console? What's your top pick?
Metal Gear Solid.
Yes, Metal Gear Solid.
They could have just loaded Metal Gear Solid on there on its own, and I probably would have bought it.
I doubt that. I doubt that's going to happen. Gran Turismo is an absolute slam dunk for this thing.
I will go with a slightly other route that might actually be more likely than Metal Gear, possibly, although it might not please quite as many people. Siphon filter.
Ooh.
Although without the sticks.
Oh yeah, was that yeah. Was the original Siphon filter pre-analog sticks? Maybe not. Maybe it was PS2?
Because the analog sticks came out with Gran Turismo. It was like just before Gran Turismo launched, the analog sticks came out.
But you can still play it with just plain old bog standard. Yeah. Now, here's what I'm gonna run past you guys. You ready?
Right.
Battle Arena Toshinden.
Yeah.
Yes.
The worst launch game of all time.
G-Police. G-Police.
Ooh, yes.
I love G-Police. Or Colony Wars. Oh my god. I want one now.
See what we've done? See how fickle you are? But yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things where if one did turn up under the Christmas tree, it's available from December the 3rd, apparently. Good luck in getting one for Christmas. Because I'd imagine they're all going to sell like gangbusters pretty immediately. If something did show up like that under the Christmas tree, I wouldn't feel the urge to defenestrate the person who put it under said tree. So there we go. But anyway, so that is that. Now, we seem to not be able to get through a week without some unfortunate news. But this one, I think, the writing has been on the wall for a while for this, and that's Telltale Games. They of choose your own adventure games such as, The Walking Dead was what they made it big with, but also things like Minecraft, Batman, Telltale Games, even Game of Thrones, and some of the Borderlands ones.
Every license known to man.
Indeed, they have finally saturated the market and are now not making enough money to stay open. So they have gone out of business.
I mean, you said the writing was on the wall. Like last November, they dropped a quarter of their staff, and everyone thought that was a huge news. Like, my God, Telltale, they've made so many kind of big games that keep getting released, and people seem to love them. Seem to, I say, because they clearly didn't sell enough. And they seem to love them. They dropped a quarter of their staff. Yeah, now they've dropped pretty much everybody.
There was a bit of news back and forth, but apparently the small skeleton crew that is staying on, and it was a bit, that may not even be the case, but the small skeleton crew of about 25 people was reported at one time will be staying on to finish and support a couple of projects.
But that's now been pulled, I think, haven't they now pulled the final season of Walking Dead?
Yeah, that seems to have been pulled, and they don't seem to be even going as far as that. And that means that, there won't be the final part of The Walking Dead, which a lot of people were upset about.
I think it was Variety that put out a story basically saying that the 25 people that were remaining behind were not there to finish The Walking Dead, the final season, but were actually there to finish the Minecraft story mode, hence why The Walking Dead has been pulled from stores.
Yeah.
So,
But, right, this is one of those things where I feel very sorry for anyone that is affected, for their job affected, especially as in America this means that, with them getting no severance pay, they also got no insurance, from one day to the next kind of thing. And, this puts a load of people in a really crap position. And I have all the sympathy in the world for anyone that's there, especially as there does seem like there are a number of very talented game developers there and writers and other talented people. The thing that I have a little bit of difficulty giving full sympathy for is the management level of this company, because I firmly believe that they should have been able to make a success and a successful business out of the business they had carved open for themselves. I think they made a series of highly bad decisions in continuously taking on these projects, and I don't know the full work behind the scenes, so I can't claim that that's the case, but it just seems from the outside looking in, they made a series of bad decisions in continuing to take on projects and not taking a step back and fixing their engine was the main problem, and stopping the problem. Because I know so many people, and I know that I was one of the ones that jumped off at Game of Thrones, but I know so many people that have at various different stages fallen off their model because of technical difficulties with their games, and they had an ever dwindling audience because of the number of people that weren't prepared to continue putting up with their crap.
It may well be that it was the board of directors who are, as with any company, it's the board of directors who are ultimately culpable, and it's them who are probably making the questionable business decisions, and probably made the call that, oh great, we can just continue cranking these out. It's, we've invested in the engine up front. We don't see any reason to invest into redoing it. We know what we're doing. We just continue crimping these things out. And at the end, that stagnation that led to in the company, I think, was Telltale's ultimate downfall. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm very sad to see Telltale go, but did they ever do anything as innovative after the first Walking Dead series? Again, no, I don't think they did. And did it become increasingly derivative of what they've done before? Yes, it had. And aside from swapping out, characters and plot beats, actually the underlying mechanics were just about the same for every single one of their games.
And a lot of people got to see the tricks, and they didn't kind of, hide that as well as they could have done in later games, possibly. You can argue the toss there a little bit, but I don't know. As I said, there was definite mismanagement type things, and then I think there were also some outside factors that were beyond their control that I haven't seen widely talked about, but I do think that there are certain games and certain game experiences that have benefited from the age of streamers, and I don't think Telltale Games are necessarily one of them, because I bet you there were some people that literally might have been interested in the next part of the story, but just watched some streamer playing it rather than playing it themselves.
If that's the case, I'm now worried about Don't Nod and Life is Strange and games like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but I would imagine that could have played into it slightly, and especially when you're suffering through technical difficulties, and that is getting to be a frustrating point in the game. You're like, well, I want to see the story, but I can't be asked to put up with the technical difficulties. Oh, if I just watch someone play, I don't even have to buy it, kind of thing. I mean, I could see that actually coming into the equation of actually harming their sales, basically.
As always, we're terribly sorry to hear of people losing their jobs, and if you do listen to this and you work at Telltale or did work at Telltale, obviously our condolences, and hopefully there'll be other opportunities out there at some point soon, which would be good.
Just want to say, because we've seen a number of these type of things in the past few weeks as well, the one really nice thing I like about these bad situations is seeing the number of other gaming companies that obviously are even more than people in our position, fully appreciative of the position that these people are in, and the number of people that reach out and use the hashtag of jobs for whatever, or however that goes around. But just the number of people that actually put out there, oh, come and interview with us if you just lost your job there. There's a studio here, and a lot of people seem to be very active with that positive side of things, and that's one of the nicer sides of social medias that doesn't always get widely reported on, and just wanted to say that's a nice thing to see, basically. Absolutely.
I think, was it, I forget which company it was, but pretty much said, hey, look, if you're in the area, it might be an EA, surprisingly, don't quote me on that, saying, hey, look, if you work for Telltale and you just had some bad news, come find us, we'll lay dinner on for you, let's chat.
Yeah.
Which is great.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think that was actually Ubisoft.
They organised
you
are right.
Some sort of a park meeting where, exactly, a kind of a luncheon where everyone would just kind of come in and they'd be able to speak to various department heads and stuff like that and talk about maybe positions. And the whole reason we're talking about this is because of the latest bit of this story, which is actually dropped, which is that a class action lawsuit has been brought against Telltale from one of their former employees.
Oh, I didn't
because
hear that
of this.
Okay.
So that kind of...
I'm not at all surprised there, but hey.
Exactly. Well, we've had studio closures very recently. We had Capcom Vancouver, the studio behind the Dead... What is it called? Dead Rising?
The Dead
series.
Rising series, yeah.
They were let go as well, and we didn't hear as much about it because apparently, based on what I've read, those employees got severance and got, the usual kind of stuff. This is such a big story because, number one, it's the vast majority of the studio is gone, but also those employees lost severance and lost healthcare, as we mentioned before. And because they're based in California, there's the WARN Act, which is an act that was brought in, I think, in the 80s. But it basically says that if a company, or a large company, I believe it's called, which qualifies as anyone over 100 employees, or medium company or something. Anyway, if there's a mass layoff, which they consider to be more than 50 employees within a period of 30 days, which this is, because it's 225 employees. If that is considered a mass layoff, then there must be at least 60 days notice. And there wasn't.
Also, the other thing that I heard, and again, don't entirely know this is true, but I heard from a couple of sources, was the other thing that was pretty bad is they'd literally just hired a few people a few weeks ago, kind of thing. And
who had to move?
To move to get. Now, if you'd have done that to me, I would be, insanely mad with you. I'd be camping outside your house and telling you every morning.
At the same time, no one holds you at gunpoint to accept a job offer.
No, but you should not be offering people a new job when you must be aware there's a possibility of this going on.
No, I take that, but at the same time, if I was expecting to move my entire life halfway across the world or halfway across a continent, I'd probably go, right, let's just see what's happened to this company in the recent past. They laid off, a sizable chunk of their workforce not that long ago.
Right, yeah, but, okay, that doesn't look great, but if you look at any video game company, they tend to, kind of, pare down and then kind of ramp back up again for so that's not a very unusual thing for a gaming company. I think, if anything, this highlights, and a lot of people have been saying this highlights the need for some sort of union for game developers, and particularly game developers working for big companies. I think
the biggest story I heard regarding this Telltale thing, and this is kind of tells you what the management was like at the company, was they were looking for financing. They needed money to stay in business, obviously. And it was up until like the day before they were still talking to potential partners. But that's because of that, they hadn't actually told anybody about the potential that they might run out of money and they might have to. And because they didn't have anything in the coffers, that meant that when the rumor is AMC and some Japanese developer or Korean developer, I can't remember, when they pulled out, that just left them with no money, so they had to just shut operations.
Wasn't it they had a big deal with Netflix, and that's what I heard, and Netflix pulled out, and that was a massive deal that put a big hole in their cash flow predictions and all that type of stuff. And
potentially,
that was the problem,
it is all just rumours, but I had heard that the Netflix stuff was still going through, and they had like something like $40 million from Netflix to do the Stranger Things stuff. And
they're going to be...
Exactly. So there's a whole load of money changing hands, but the fact that the company was so taking on so much risk to be kind of going right up to the wire in terms of their money, because of that they couldn't offer the severance, which makes me worry about this class action lawsuit, because even if they do win,
where's the money? You can't just magic money out of thin air.
Exactly. Like, all that's going to happen is Telltale are just going to declare bankruptcy, and that's going to be the end of it. So it's kind of annoying, but like it's the way labor laws work over in America. And as you say, Tim, it is a perfect example of why the video game industry probably needs unions. And I think, yeah.
And also another role of a union is to, touching on what I said earlier, a union's role is to advise its members about, hey, look, these are the things to look out for. Are you sure you want to go, before, but like with any other union, if you get a job, you send the contract that they're offering you to that union. They give you advice. They tell you a bit about the company, like, hey, look, this is what they've done recently. Are you really sure that you want to do this?
All right. If we want to get into a whole massive debate, which I will try and not do so,
please don't.
But there is also, and there's a side of me that thinks, yes, these people should definitely be protected, and they're not being protected, and they need better protection. But there is a side of me that says, let's not unionise that, but we should have better protection for all workers, kind of thing. No one should have to be going through the position that these people have had to go through in terms of, not getting severance, losing your insurance overnight.
Unfortunately, the chances of that happening with the current incumbent at the Oval Office in the States is pretty chuffing minimal.
Dan, you mentioned a kind of one of the roles of a union. Another one of the roles of a union is to fight for those laws that you're talking about, Tim. Like, the labour laws do need to be more strict. Like, this WARN Act, I'm sure, was brought in by, or had involvement with unions. Like, those are the people working from the employee's perspective. So, like, I don't think one has to be, or I don't think you need one or the other. You can have both. And I think one actually helps the other as well.
It always sucks in these situations. And, there's a lot of very talented people at Telltale. Perhaps they almost certainly weren't given the right environment to creatively flourish by the sounds of things. I think we'd all, even for the past year or two, we've been kind of drawing note at the cookie cutter nature of producing content that Telltale increasingly seems to be adopting. And, it's very sad for all involved. And it's a shame that it had to end this way with Telltale. And, I just hope everything works out all right for everyone in the end.
Also, just on a note, just because it was a group that we didn't really reference, and I don't know if it necessarily counts you two, but it certainly doesn't count me, but I just feel slightly sorry for, and this is the slight problem of the kind of episodic nature of their gaming type of thing and their model and approach. I feel really sorry for people that have invested years in that story and are not going to get to see a payoff for The Walking Dead, basically.
I mean, that was one of the things that kind of got a lot of people riled up on the internet for various reasons, and I'm not going to discuss either side of that. I'm just going to say that Telltale released a statement on Twitter and I think on other social media as well, but I only saw it on Twitter, basically saying that other parties had come forward saying that they were interested in completing The Walking Dead, the final season, in some form. Now, whether that means that people might get some... It might be in a different engine. Or they might actually get it in an engine that works. Multiple things can happen. But like the fact that that's being looked into is potentially good news for those people. But at the same time, we have to keep in mind that 225 people are out of jobs with no severance, and 25 more people are about to follow them as well.
Yeah, it was very, very much a little afterthought, and I'm not trying to add to the entitlement kind of idea of this, but just saying, like, I do have some sympathy for some of those people being annoyed. Do not take out that annoyance on any of the developers that had absolutely no influence on this.
Like, the absolute weirdos online who think that the developers should work for free to finish the season.
I know.
What?
These are I can guarantee these are exactly the same people who are complaining at Nintendo for letting a small thing like a natural disaster which killed loads of people to interrupt their Nintendo Direct Super Smash Brothers schedule. But I mean, I think kind of just to close on this, I suppose. I mean, the other thing, let's not forget, is I do believe money has changed hands from people who have pre-ordered the final season of Walking Dead, right?
Yep.
That presumably would have to come back to them, I would have thought, no?
How does it, though? That's the thing. Like, who's culpable and who has that money?
They're going to be way down on the list of creditors, mate.
Right, yeah, but I would have thought that the responsibility for pre-orders would have to come through the place that you've bought that from, no?
I'm sure if you look at the T's and C's, there's going to be some stipulation in there that says you don't need to.
They will have some sort of duty and care to deliver the product that they've sold you, because that's their role in the proceedings, and if they can't honour that, then they have to do something about it, I would have thought.
Unless they declare bankruptcy, and that's it. And it's one of those cases where I don't know. Yeah, we don't know.
No, as in, if someone's pre-ordered that through the PS4 and through PSN, Sony will be responsible for the return. Likewise, if you've bought a pre-order from a physical shop, like you don't have to pay that pre-order just because you've pre-ordered it, kind of thing, right? Anyway.
Yeah, but if you bought it from xxxcdwaresgameskeys.net,
tough titties, but
can pretty much guarantee you're boned. So there we go. Talking of boned, what? Can I just say something that's bothered me on the internet?
That's
how you're going to segue.
That's how I'm going to segue.
Very good.
So you put a crown on Bowser and you get a bilf, right? Bowser I'd like to anyway.
Whoa!
It just depresses me that, okay, he's a big fat dinosaur, right? Why would putting a crown on a big fat dinosaur turn him into a skinny, big boobied lady? It's just slightly disappointing that wherever the internet goes, it's like, a video game character, they might turn female. I know exactly what they're going to look like. Unfurl my misogynogram. Let's go. It's a bit depressing that that's where everyone went with it, but I'm not entirely surprised.
It is the internet, and there are rules of the internet, such as Rule 34 and Rule 63.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all on there.
I can guarantee, though, if you put a crown on Bowser and he turned into a woman, you're not going to get some... The closest approximation to a female you're probably going to get in that transformation would be Anne Widdecombe, I think. If you put a crown on Bowser, that's the resulting lady friend you would get.
I'm not sure we're going to see that transformation definitely happen in Smash. Just so everyone knows, Nintendo have not officially confirmed Anne Widdecombe as being in Smash.
That would be amazing.
Have you seen there's already fan-created amiibos?
Oh, Jesus.
Really? Oh, what? Yeah. Bowsette? Oh, God.
This is why we can't have nice things.
No, this is why some people on the internet should have no things.
Including their internet connection.
Yes.
Although only today I saw Boozette, which is a boo wearing the crown.
Okay, fine.
And I also saw a teaser image of Donkey Kong putting on the ground.
Oh, Jesus.
How teasery.
It was just showing him just about to place it on his head. I don't know what the sequel to that image is yet. I'm afraid to look it up.
What the? Well, that is quite frankly.
No, don't share that image.
No. It's not a bad image. It's not
image.
disgusting. It's not disgusting. I would describe it as. I think this might have to be the episode art, Coleman, if you're listening.
I'm not sure we can.
I'm sure we can. We can do this. We have the technology. We have the technology. There is the technology. Look at that bad boy right there.
Whoa!
Oh my!
Isn't that a terrible drawing?
That's about as well as I would do if I was drawing that.
got to put a crown on it. Apparently. So that is just very, 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 very depressing that this is a thing, and it's just.
It is what it is, Dan. It is what it is.
It's just not right. It's just not right.
It's not okay either, but yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on, Dan. Let's move on.
I've got something on the agenda called TGS shenanigans.
Well, we were going to write a load of TGS headlines, and then we looked for some, and there isn't any, I don't think.
Tokyo Game Show happened. There was a really weird. Hideo Kojima was being weird again, surprise, surprise. Troy Baker took off a mask only to reveal another mask and then put the first mask in a muddy puddle and it turned into some kind of mask dog thing.
Yeah.
A weird dog thing whose mask splits open to reveal what looks like a muddy anus.
Yeah, it is Sphincter Dog. Sphincter Dog it can confirm final boss in Death Stranding.
But yeah, well, I tell you something. It definitely looked like a Kojima game.
Yes.
Whereas before I wasn't sure it was a game. Now it not only looks like a game, it looks like a Kojima game.
So beforehand it was a Kojima, now it's a Kojima game.
Yes. Before it might have been a Kojima short digital movie. Could have been. And by short, I mean about 8 hours long. But, you know, like one cutscene. But yeah, that looked more gamey, I guess, is a good thing. I guess.
Yeah, there's actually what looks like a boss character, you know? That something tangible for people who know video games. They can kind of go, I know what that kind of character is.
And I don't know about you guys, when it came to TGS generally, I did try and keep up with news. Like, they had the Sony pre-announcement, which we discussed a couple of weeks ago, which we won't recover, but that seemed to have way more news than the rest of TGS did, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know if that's just because, you know, ignorant Westerners not being able to understand Japanese made it difficult to actually concentrate on too much of what was going on. But, like, I tried to listen to a few things, and yeah, basically, I don't know if you saw, they were doing a live stream that was there for a few days, and any time I tried to tune into it, it was just a series of the same adverts. So, kind of gave up on that. And then, yeah, I tried to watch a few of the like press conferencing things that they'd had that they released from it, but they were all only in Japanese, and yeah, I have learnt that YouTube is really bad at translating Japanese on the fly.
To be fair, though, that's a pretty tall order. You're asking of anything. To go, hey, this person speaking a foreign language, probably not that well into a crap microphone. Do you mind translating that on the fly? You being off at that not working properly is pretty entitled.
Then probably using quite a few like specific technical terms that maybe don't translate directly as well. But oh my god, that was amazing amounts of gibberish. I suggest just going and watching it for fun at some time. Not taking the mick, but it comes out with lots of gobbledygook of complete nonsense. Makes no sense.
So basically like watching that auto-translator on BBC News.
But then, but about 5 times worse than that, with poorer sentence structure, and like generally, like it makes sense for like half a sentence, and then it just veers off in another direction, and it messes with your brain a bit to try and keep up reading with that as well. Like it was fun. It was fun.
But pro tip, if you're half asleep and you want to watch the telly but you don't want to wake up, turn on audio assisted broadcasting. It's amazing. Pro tip. I'm not the person who should be using it, but you know, it's an interesting walk on the wild side if if you want to hear excellent things be described in an excellent manner by a person with an excellent accent. I'm confused. I'm sorry if I'm sounding distracted, and if Tim's sounding distracted, because I've started Googling Bowsette.
Yeah, you've been posting more pictures.
I think you've fallen down the well, the Bowsette well.
I'm just trying to find the really
deep well.
Yeah, it's
It's a well I no longer want to journey down you with, damn.
Oh, look, there's a Rick Sanchez one.
Let's get on to games so we can get the hell out of here.
Oh my goodness. My goodness. At least there isn't a pickle Bowsette yet.
Oh, hang on. Anyway, the stuff we've done did play. Surprise, surprise, I played some more Destiny 2. But actually, it seems like Destiny... I got rather railroaded out of being able to talk about Destiny 2.
You could have recorded a special while we were away. We gave you the option. You chose not to take it.
But there was too much. There was too much crap to do in Destiny 2. Genuinely,
you had stuff to do.
No, no,
once.
No one was more surprised than I that there was stuff to do in Destiny 2. But actually, it's the gift that keeps on giving. There is all kinds of secrets just coming left, right, and centre from Destiny 2, and it does feel really great that, and the community's discovering them. It's not like Bungie are going, hey, you might want to look over here and stuff. Okay, it's actually there. Kind of these secrets are being organically found. So yeah, it's really good times, and it seems like there's lots more secrets to discover. We're nowhere near the bottom of that particular well, so to speak. But yeah, and some bits of it genuinely very hard, which is a refreshing change from Destiny as well. Have I beaten a raid yet? The answer is no.
No.
Will I at some point? Yes. But it was, I think...
Is it hard, or is it just difficult to coordinate people?
It's very... Well, it's hard. It's hard in terms of bullet sponges being thrown at you. But also that it's actually mechanically quite complicated as well. Put it this way, for King's Fall, which was the raid in the Taken King. Yeah, so the first big Destiny 1 expansion, I think, 24,000 people cleared the raid within 24 hours of it being released. This raid, for Forsaken, the number of people who cleared it in 24 hours was 12.
Okay.
Yep. And what I really liked, what I genuinely liked, is when the first team cleared the raid, it actually changed the game world.
Yes, it changed the whole. It changed the whole game world. It's like it completely changed the layout of an area, completely changed the quests that are available in it. Put into motion new missions, new kind of plot lines, kind of tying several things together, unlocked other areas. Really, very, very cool. Very, very cool.
What I like about this is, like, people have described Forsaken as the Destiny 2 we should have gotten, just like people described the Taken King as the Destiny 1 we should have gotten. So it does sound like a perfect time to jump back in. I'm probably going to jump back in again, but not until the price comes down on Forsaken a bit. At the moment, it's just too... it's just too high. But when it does come down, I will jump on board again.
Hey, I'm just going to insert a thought in your head, okay? Then I'm going to walk away from this and ask what you guys have played, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Reggiette. My job here is done.
Oh God, no! Don't show me an image of that. No,
oh, my please don't post that.
No, it's too late. Reggiette.
Oh God,
my God, the chin.
Which one? As a man with multiple chins these days, I feel entitled to be able to make that joke. So, yes. Oh, and stuff I did play, actually, was the Forza Horizon 4 demo. Forza Horizon 4, it was bloody brilliant. And finally, it's nice to play a Forza game where everyone drives on the correct side of the road. Although I'm so used to driving on the wrong side of the road, the wrong right side of the road, if that makes any sense in video games, that it completely flummoxed me from it. Oh no, it's in the UK. Really gorgeous graphics. It was a bit of a kind of a speed run through the various seasons in the game. and it isn't just kind of a hey, look, it looks a bit different because it's now winter. It changes how the drive. No, it changes how you drive.
Yeah.
And like in autumn, all of a sudden there's big puddles you have to deal with, which completely changes the mechanics of the car. You aquaplane, or the kind of the driving in the snow feels very, very different. Surprise, driving around in the summer. It looks like it's going to be great fun, and apparently the game world will change over time as well. I think it's on a weekly schedule. I think that the seasons change. And unlike in Forza Horizon 3, apparently where the world was stuffed full of the drive avatars, so AI abstractions of your friends, which is how I like to think of Tim and Colin in the best of days. And is actually now going to be proper shared world, but if your internet connection drops, it would obviously replace with drive avatars. So looks like it's going to be all of the fun times. And if you picked up the Ultimate Edition, which I did because I'm impatient and an idiot, you'll be able to play that from the stroke of midnight on the 28th of September. I will ensure there is a car club for us all. So
nice. I will. That I will have to dust off my Xbox and actually pick up a copy of that.
Well worth it.
Look forward to playing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been reviewing really well so far. Obviously,
I've seen the Metacritic on it, and it's impressive. It's doing really, really well.
And they've even walked away from microtransaction nonsense.
Yeah, well, that's good. But it's one of those games where even if it wasn't that great, I'd be like, well, it's in England and it's a Forza game, so I guess I have to, kind of thing,
Well, the fourth annual delivery truck race is going to happen in Extra Life.
yeah, exactly. So.
We've got a couple of new entrants this year. I'm still going to be representing my boys, Yodel. we shall be delivering stuff into bins across the Midlands in Forza Horizon 4. It's going to be glorious.
And onto roofs and out in the street.
Over the top of fences onto concrete floors. Yep. That's what we're going to be doing. Anyway.
People think we're joking. People actually think we're joking about
They are terrible. Well, like the other day, I ordered something that I didn't realise it was going to be delivered from Yodel. Unfortunately, it was. Where I got told via the internet that we've returned the package to sender, only for it to arrive through my front door the next day. I'm a little confused. Good old Yodel.
I swear, like, I've had a number of cases recently through business, home, or other people I've been talking to where multiple packages have been ordered from similar places at similar times. One has come through Royal Mail, one has come through a courier, and the Royal Mail one has got there first every single time with less hassle than every single one of the couriers.
Yep, anyway. Pretty much. Yep. Pretty much.
Right, now, I've got 8 games to talk about? Maybe 7. I've lost count.
Okay, well, you've got 6 minutes. Let's have some 1 minute game, Tim. Go!
Yeah, so it had to be quick, but I did pick up a whole bundle of games. And
That's
I got
fun. Next game.
Capcom Beat'em Up collection, or Beat'em Up Bundle, as it is. And I picked it up on the Switch.
Right.
Just because I thought that was good to me.
Now, let me stop here. Is it a bundle of Capcom fighting games?
It's a bundle of scrolling beat-em-ups.
So like Streets of Rage and stuff.
Oh, right. Brilliant. So like Final Fight's on there?
Yes, the headline game is Final Fight.
Ooh.
And that is... And, like, literally, I am cursing myself from my lack of knowledge of other scrolling beat-em-ups from that same era, because Final Fight is probably the second or third worst game in the whole collection. Like, there are a number of games here which I'd never heard of before, which do the Final Fight thing to a much larger scale, with much more interesting combat, much more nuanced, and just better, basically. Like, there's one on there called King of Dragons, which I'd heard other people talking about before, but I'd never encountered on the arcades back in the day. I'd never played since. And that's got like a whole massive upgrade system. It's about 10 times as long as Final Fight. It's got a whole different kind of series of attacks that every time you upgrade, they change, and like more character variety, more enemy variety. Like, everything about it's probably better than Final Fight. Final Fight is probably the only one in the collection that you will have any nostalgia for, or most people will necessarily know. And there's 2 games in the collection that have never been out. I'm not sure what's the stage they've never been released, whether they've never been released beyond consoles, whether they've never been released in the UK or America generally. Not too sure on that, but they are games that have been not released or released for any period of time. One of them is Warriors of Fate, which is excellent. I think one of the reasons it may not have got a Western release or at least an English release is you can pick up big swords in it, and if you kill someone with them, it will plain cut them in half.
Sweet!
Which is quite cool.
Nice!
Bring it on!
Mate, that Warriors of Fate is so good. It's like 3-player, which I think is one better than Final Fight. I remember having 3 characters in Final Fight. I can't remember if it's actually 3-player. That's one thing.
It's not 3-player. It's 2-player, but there are 3
That's
players.
what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. And so most of the other games in the collection play with more characters and have a lot more to them. And Warriors of Fate was a really good one.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is that? Are you running around a celebratory area in southern middle class England, trying to avoid getting food poisoning from underbaked cakes
From a Summer Fate?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
Basically,
well,
it's much more interesting than that. Yeah, but Armored Warriors was Armored Warriors is the game that was not released here before, and that was big, massive kind of mechs battling each other, and that was really cool. And then another one called Battle Circuit, which was okay, quite good fun. Had a nice kind of weird mix of characters and was quite interesting. Captain's Commando, which I played a bit less because I didn't like that as much as the others. But all of them are like playable, quite long scrolling beat 'em ups. As I said, Final Fight is probably one of the like shorter ones of the ones that I've played all the way to completion so far. And really enjoyable. Like the whole package comes in like 18 quid, which I think is quite reasonable.
Wow, that's a great deal.
Yeah. I think if it was just like they were just trying to sell them separately, I think this would have gone badly because a lot of people wouldn't have known, at least outside Japan and possibly outside America, wouldn't have known all of these things. But if you like scrolling beat 'em ups at all and you have a taste for Final Fight especially, then, as I said, there are much better games in that package. It's a really good little package for the price. And yeah, like I've been really pleased with it. Also like presented really well. You can play the original Japanese versions of all the of anyone's that got a Japanese version of them as well. And yeah, it's just really nicely presented. It's got a whole save system where you can have like one save per game, and you can just save at any time and come back to it. Yeah, and the whole thing works really well and is a really nice little package. So I can thoroughly recommend that as well.
I mean, but one of my memories of these type of games are they were quite good, kind of like, for want of a better phrase, they're kind of like the video game equivalent of popcorn movies, where you just turn your brain off and you mash some buttons. And I mean, they're not. If you're looking for a deep story-driven experience, these are not the games for you.
No, possibly not. But they are really good fun in co-op as well. Like and as I said, like when you can play like 3 or 4 player, that's quite good fun. But they're also like, for me, that's where Final Fight really showed its lack of strength in compared to some of the other games in this collection that have much more nuanced fighting that gives it a bit more strategic depth, basically. So yeah. I was really happy with this, so yeah, I recommend. And just for the record, I purchased my own copy of this and recommend that you do the same.
Jolly good.
Nice.
Jolly good. Have you played anything else, Timothy, or is that it?
Just to say very quickly that I completed Spider-Man. Oh my word, that game is excellent. Everyone needs to buy that. That and God of War will be duking it out for not only my game of the year, but my favourite game on the PS4 so far.
Wowza.
And my favourite game of all time.
Yowza.
Here.
Yowza. Both of which I still
Fantastic.
need to buy. I need to peel myself away from Destiny and also looking up Bowsette Pits to try and disgust him.
Yeah, like Dan, you owe it to yourself as a fan of video games. Like, I'm not saying a fan of Spider-Man, a fan of God of War, anything. A fan of video games to play both of those games.
They are truly excellent.
Yeah,
Truly excellent. And yeah.
when people ask what your your favorite games of all time, I'll start with, well, I don't know in which order, but God of War and Spider-Man, and then some things.
And then other things that I'm going to list.
Yes, Uncharted 2 probably after that.
Pong.
Mass Effect 2. Tetris.
Pong. I'm just continuing to try and break your internet again.
Scrabble.
Yes, that.
And right, let's give DMed some time to talk about a game, because I am interested to hear about Velocity 2X again. I know you've loved this game before.
Yes, I'm gonna actually kind of continue this whole one of the greatest games, because one of the greatest games on the Vita, it didn't get many games, but the games it did get that were good were really, really good.
Yeah, Velocity was corking. That was a great game.
Absolutely brilliant. If you wanted a kind of an arcade shmup, this was like top of the range. Brilliant stuff from Future Lab. It's being published by Curve on Switch, and that's who I got a code for this from. And I've been playing through it again after completing the game, and I think I got the platinum on it on the Vita.
Right.
I loved this game. Absolutely loved it. And it's one of those... I remember I wrote the review for this years ago, and I remember saying that it was funstrating, and I kick myself every time for actually saying that, but it really is.
So you should.
It's one of those... For people who, like me, who can't really go past a level if they don't have it perfect. You know, when you have the, like Overcooked recently, where you have the 3 stars saying that you've done, you know, the perfect job of that particular level.
You can't leave a star unstarred.
You can't leave, yeah, exactly. And this game is one of those games that really does, like, at the end of each level, 3 little bars fill up, and they give you this nice little symbol, this kind of shield symbol with bars on it and lights and all this kind of stuff. And if you get one thing wrong, it'll be missing something. And you'll be like, oh no, I need to go back and play this level again. And you just keep going again and again, playing through the levels. It is so much fun. It's incredibly fast. Obviously, the name Velocity kind of tells you that anyway. And the fact that it's 2x should tell you it's the sequel. So the original Velocity came out on the Vita as well, but or was it the PSP? I think it was the PSP because it was one of those PlayStation Minis, the games that were kind of developed as sort of mini titles.
Remember those?
Remember those? And it was one of those, it was one of the most successful minis because they have immediately went into production on the sequel. And 2X came out on Vita first, I believe, and then it eventually came out on PlayStation 4. And it's since then, it has also come out on PC, Mac, and Linux, as well as Xbox One. And only last week it came out on, or was it last? Yes, last week it came out on the Switch. And it is just as good as it was on the Vita. Well, actually, no. I'm going to make one caveat. The one thing the Vita had, which I loved, was the ability to teleport using the touchscreen. And because the screen was so small, it allowed you to kind of touch it from wherever you needed to go, which made going through levels kind of really intuitive.
Right. But because the screen's bigger, it's harder to reach the screen kind of thing?
No, that's the thing. I thought that was going to be the case.
Okay.
But it actually doesn't have touchscreen support at all.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because the game can be played kind of like off, you know, on a screen away from you. Therefore, I don't think they included it.
Okay.
So it is kind of stuck to the triggers, but it's still fun. So there is one caveat to the Switch version, but it is still a fantastic game. And if, like me, you're a fan of Future Lab and you want to see them make the sequel, which they've already kind of announced as Velocity Supernova, support the Switch version. Because they came out fairly recently with a fairly frank interview basically saying, yeah, we need the Switch version of Velocity 2X to sell well so that we can get the money for the sequel.
Yeah.
So I really hope people get this, because if you like arcade shmups, this is top of the line. The visuals are stunning. The soundtrack is amazing. I loved how this one introduced 2D platforming sections, which still didn't let go of the fact that it's all about speed. You're basically sprinting, rolling, jumping over stuff as quickly as possible, trying to get to the end. And it's all about just mastering the controls. And when you do, you feel incredible. It's a brilliant game. Absolutely worth it. If you haven't played it before, the Switch version is a fantastic version to get.
Yeah, I was going to say, presumably, as you thought it was such a good fit for the Vita, it's also a seemingly good fit for the Switch as well.
Yes,
yeah?
Like the levels, obviously you're trying to get through them quickly, but the levels are a minute or two long. That's perfect for portable gameplay.
Yeah,
but there is enough depth in there as well that it makes it really, really fun. So obviously the main game has like 50 levels or something like that to master, and to try and get perfect on those is a real achievement. Like I remember it's still level 47, I believe, is the trickiest one to get.
Right.
And I remember when I got it perfect on that originally, it was such a brilliant feeling. Like, I understand why people like Dark Souls. It's that kind of feeling. But This one also includes all of the DLC that they released. So there's additional levels as well. So it is definitely a really, really good package.
I love a good package.
Me too.
Excellent. I'm glad we agree on this. Tim, your thoughts on packages?
Good.
Good?
When they're not left in bins or roofs.
Oh, they're right. I
said good when they're not left in bins or roofs.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wise words from the Hib.
You've been told.
I have been told from the Hibette. Right, we've got to go because
don't at me.
We have run out of time, and finally, it's largely stuff to talk about, I think. We're not going to do shout-outs this week because we haven't had a chance to get to them, but that means, lucky you, there is double dipping on shout-outs next week, so we will do that then. But of course, Tabletop Tuesday is happening because it's Tuesday, and what happens on the Tuesday, Tim?
Well, I didn't get to preface this last week because we didn't really do a show in the normal slot, but just thank you very much, everyone that joined us on Tuesday, because that was actually my birthday, and it was nice to share that with some people. I dragged some friends and family to come along to Tabletop to come celebrate as well, and that was nice, and it was good fun, so thank you very much for everyone that joined us. Without further ado, this week's feature game, and anyone doesn't know, each and every Tuesday we have a different feature game in an event we call Tabletop Tuesday at the Loading Bar in Dalston, and if you play the feature game that evening, you have a chance of winning a copy of that game by the end of the night. This week's feature game is a little game called Startups. It's a company that specialise in putting sort of not necessarily massively large concepts, but kind of good games in small little boxes, basically. A lot of the stuff they've made before have been really good. This one is no exception, and something you should come along and play on the evening, see if you like it, and possibly win yourself a copy just by playing it. There are more details up on the top left-hand corner of BigRedBarel.com, and there will be more details on our Meetup group as well. So search for Tabletop Tuesday on Meetup. Come join the over 1,650 people that are members of the group there.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. As I keep on saying, if everyone turns up on one week, we are going to be in trouble. Thanks for everyone that joined us and last week. And I won't actually be there next week, but Alex will be in charge, and so ask for her at the bar if as needed. And then I will be back the week after. So yeah, I will see you all soon. But enjoy Tabletop Tuesday, and it's a good thing to do with your Tuesday, basically.
Yes, there are worse things you can do, many of which you can get arrested for.
Yeah, so don't do those ones.
No, don't do those. Go to Tabletop
Tuesdays
Tuesday.
Or any days.
Can almost guarantee you won't be arrested.
Almost guarantee.
Almost guarantee. I can never completely guarantee that you won't.
I wouldn't offer anyone that guarantee, Dan.
No, I would never would.
If that 1,650 people show up, though, could be a public disturbance. We'll see.
Oh, the excitement! Oh, I could already feel the ASBO being filled out. Anyway, that is your lot, I suppose. Unless there's anything else we need to witter about. Do you need to witter about anything?
No.
Dear Med, you're not Coleman. Anything else you need to witter about?
Nah, I'm good. Listen to Geek Speak, guys. I'm on that.
Hey, there we go. Listen to that. If you need to put an Irishman in your head, put that on in your head and stuff.
Or just call me, Yeah,
cool. Yeah, okay, so you want his phone number. It's 0898. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us, dear Ed. Truly appreciate it, sir. And you lot out there, there's plenty more BigRedBarel to be found. BigRedBarel. I'm very drunk. BigRedBarel to be found out there on the internet. Go to internet.com/thing/BigRedBarel, and you'll probably find something. So brilliant. Thank you for listening. Yes, thank you for listening to us and downloading us once again. It's always a pleasure. And so I have been Dan.
I might have been Tim.
I've definitely been Diarmuid. Definitely.
Correct.
Definitely.
And with that, 3 out of 3, let's end on a high and end the show. So until next time, dear listeners, toodle bye.
Your ears are quite welcome
for the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
to BigRedBarel.com
for more podcasts,
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.